Yeah, so he has some issues with anxiety and worries. He thinks a lot and he panics and like has a lot of this like concerns and stuff. He has issues with his stomach and processing food, and he has to eat like very specific amount, not less, not too much. He used to be in a really good shape in life, and then there was this incident in his life that changed everything, and uh, he wasn't eating as much, and he felt like dying, and toxic, like you have to eat more and you're gonna survive, and it just feels like that. And I did a few sessions on him in the past. He had an incident in one of his past lives where he was connected to mantis, and they captured him in like space and time and like tortured him over there until present, like one of his bodies out there. So that gone on for like quite a few years, and in the session I sort of finished that, like sort of like at least got him away from that. But I believe there's still more of his bodies either who are in pain or even in time, like right now he's affected by the entities.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So what would you like to focus on first regarding Sean?
Mainly the entities, like they cause him to focus on stuff and like overreacting on it and thinking and all those thoughts. It's just, I think it's the main thing. And if we can get rid of the entities, then it'll be easier for him to settle down in life.
Okay. So, how would you go about this? Do you just kind of look and see right now what entity stuff that you can sense and feel or see? Or is it more like you tune into an incident or a part of his life and see if there was an entity attachment happening? Or how do you go about it?
Well, I've seen how he looks, so I'll just focus on his body and tune into him and scan his environment and see who's connected to him, who's causing the thoughts, all those worries, anxiety, and all that,
Mm-hmm.
and remove clusters and report on like back on what I'm doing, and from there we can look up if there are any agreements or any more stuff.
Okay. Now, is there specific feeling states relative to the entities affecting his uh, feeling states or biology or
Main anxieties, like it can be smallest things, and didn't used to be like that, but now every little small thing can trigger him, and it's, I believe it's anti-clusters causing that,
mm-hmm.
and he picks it up and focuses on it like he's being baited, and he gets on it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the clusters get him, and then all those emotional, like anxiety and like frustration and stuff can come in.
Okay.
So yeah, just mainly that.
Alrighty. As you look into it, I'll be curious to find out whether when that entity stuff does trigger, are they having thoughts and Sean thinks those thoughts are his thoughts? Are they having feelings and Sean thinks those feelings are his feelings? That sort of thing? Or is it more like uh, the entities are causing Sean to have the thoughts and they are his thoughts, but they've somehow caused that to happen? And the feelings aren't really his, but those thoughts have caused those feelings. I'm just curious as you do the work when you look into that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, how about I just be quiet here and let you focus in and I'll guide you?
Sure.
Okay, start.
Just a note to take. It's regarding past lives, and in those past lives, the incident had to do with fear of death, or being very close to death and just being afraid of it. So I'm scanning
Sure.
some more. Yeah, basically the whole thing with the entities is that the entity will have that feeling state and thought, and Sean picks it up intuitively. And I believe this is more like with every person, because we're intuitive, and like entities will cause certain feeling state or thoughts, and we pick it up thinking it's us when it's actually the entities, and all the chatter in the head is like the entities and what we sort of hear and repeat.
Yeah, like we misidentify, we think it's our thoughts or feelings when it's theirs.
Exactly.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just scan some more.
Yeah, continue.
Yeah, I think it's like more of an entangled thing, because like a lot of these entities had connections from their past lives, as in they were once human, and they kept reincarnating and reincarnating and reincarnating to where their soul was like collided and became like a body phaeton. And to that point, like they lose control, and now there's this like whole entity hierarchy, like with reptilians and mantis and stuff, and they become enslaved. And so these entities forget their past completely, but they live with that feeling state that they died with, and
Yeah.
now the torture is in the present still. And so basically in that hierarchy, the upper ones will like give them like, hey, this is your human, you have to torture him, you have to do this and this, and they give like entity a mission. And now it's like incarnation for the entity. They come to the person's life and they are alive and they're living, but with that feeling state that they've died quite a few lifetimes with.
Mm-hmm.
And they're present with it, and all those thoughts and energy like state and feeling state is there, and the person that is being messed with by the entities picks it up, thinking and feeling like it's them. So misidentified, like you've mentioned, and just they live with that. But also the entities, doing their job, they will over enhance the emotion and make it much stronger than it seems, causing all those fear and anxiety and like all the stuff, and like just to collect the loosh. And this way they sort of mess with people. That's like one of their missions, and like it's kind of like entangled because like the entities had their own issues. I'm picking up quite a few lifetimes where he had this close to death situation where he like he's afraid of dying in past,
Mm-hmm.
and like different situations where different triggers, like regarding the food, regarding like if I'm gonna do this I'm gonna die. And so he either was like close to dying or he died from those, and now in the present he's afraid. And one of those is like
Yeah.
thing.
So is it these are some of the things in common with the entities, this dying stuff and the feeling states of dying?
Yeah, because like in the environment that you're living in, no matter what he does, the entities, they themselves are afraid. So entities thing where whenever he's gonna touch something, if the entity cluster died from that thing in past, they're afraid of it in the present. And they cause fear like, oh, what if I'm gonna die? What if this happens? What if that? And they cause sort of anxiety that they have from the past life that's like gathered up,
Right.
and they cause Sean to feel that.
So the entities themselves, one as a cluster, they identify with each other. They all kind of sort of think they're one because they all have the
Yes.
similar feeling and thought thing, and so it's a cluster composite entity form.
Yes.
But as that cluster entity, it has something in common, common past experiences, common emotion, common fears. And this is that like attracts like sort of phenomena, which causes us to attract entities. Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay, what's the next step?
I'm gonna work on removing entities first. Remove the clusters and maybe look up with the hierarchy who's commanding them, and like remove the ones that keep them in control. Because like there's one thing of like removing entities or just like finding them a safe space where they can be.
Mm-hmm.
And from there we'll see.
Okay. I will be quiet until you would like some kind of guidance.
It's as if the entity cluster make up like the whole body. Like it's not just like little ball of like entities, but it's like the whole body, like same size, and all these clusters come to one to make up one beingness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm like removing these entities and like just scanning them at the same time. So like they subconsciously relate, thinking that like the whole cluster, and there's quite a few millions making up one entity. They think that they are like as they're in his bodies, and no matter what he does, they say like, oh, it's happening to me, and they're afraid of absolutely everything in the surroundings. And because like every action can trigger any entity in the cluster, and so they're afraid of that. And if one happens, it's like a wildfire that will catch up one after another, and they all react it, causing the excessive emotions and stuff.
Like the group consciousness sort of thing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Good.
So I'm working.
Continue. Now, are you seeing the entities? Actually,
Yeah, I'm seeing the entities and like removing them like with galactic vacuum and stuff.
Okay. Continue.
So I was like focusing on the cluster and like looking for the leader, and the moment I started looking for the leader, it all got like very quiet. And I was like, scanning and like looking more, and it seems like nothing's there, but I got a feeling like, hey, they're invisible. So I'm looking for that invisible being and sort of unlock their cloaking and stuff. And I see this like being is like chaperone, sort of. It's like um none of the alien races I've seen is like weird looking entity, like more of a blob or whatever, whatever you would call it. And it basically gives a command to all the entities. It's like a transmitter, or whatever. And sends a signal on what to do, and like numbs down all the entities so that they could not tap into their experiences, because they're like consciously like as you live with Sean, they can remember their past life because of the triggers.
They can or cannot?
Can, yes.
Yes.
And this blob, whatever entity we would call it, is like that chaperone. It numbs these entities down, making sure that they cannot recall anything, and keeps everyone like sort of dazed off, as they like just consciously or together like as a hive mind just react to the thing, but they cannot do anything about it. And so the moment I started looking for it, like it's just taking off, like deleting its traces and just getting away, because it knows like it's being chased now. And I'm aiming for like hey, there you are.
Yeah, go get them. Yeah. Good reads on this.
It's like connections to the eye, because like this thing is like pretty much connected to everyone. Like it's one of them. I don't know, like now we would call it like one of the usual cases where people are being messed with entities, or by entities, and all those entities are numbed down by that being. And there's like lots of these that will hang in the environment and like sort of be a chaperone for these entities, making sure that they do their job. And this being is reporting to the higher ups, and it's the AI and like reptilians and greys and stuff. And if something goes wrong, it can like control the entities, or like push more power, or sort of do something with them, give different commands, and sort of reprogram them. Like if they have one command, you like delete memories and reprogram them on another thing. And like it's these like little things keeping things in control. So that's.
Now I've heard of these amoeba, like they're big, like small clouds in the sky. They're kind of dark and invisible, but sometimes they will manifest and you can see them floating up there, and they're like amoeba-like looking cell sort of things. But the story is that they're very intelligent entities that parasitic feed off humanity. Sounds like similar kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
It also makes me think about when Andrew Bartzitz talks as the galactic historian, he talks about the entire planet Earth is being monitored. And there's these monitoring, they're like satellites, kind of. But they monitor the consciousness of humanity. They're always reading it. And then this data goes back to another source.
Yeah. I've seen the same thing in my Ubis. Like I've like we did some work together, sessions on ourselves and other people, and there's like tons of different entities. Like you can't just say like, oh, this cluster just controls like one thing, but like Andrew Bartis is saying, I found that very similar thing where entities inside us, it just reads us 24/7. Our thoughts, our emotions, our feeling state, they're like monitoring even like the bacteria and little things in their body, scanning absolutely everything, and like they're sending all information to their like servers and stuff. And I was like following the trace of this information, and there's like this huge basis, like spaceship after spaceship, planet after planet, where they just like have information about every single human being and every single animal, and their emotional like tone level, how they're doing, what they're thinking. And they even like look up of the probability of them going up emotionally and doing good in life, or even down daily. Like every day, like they have a scale of where it's gonna go, where it is or the present, where it was, and basically based on that they make sure that, oh, if you're like right now, like tomorrow you're gonna do this project, we can try to mess it up, and they send anti-clusters to mess with you personally, or to mess with people around you. And what we call Murphy's Law, when something happens, they basically simulate the experience to just like trigger you more and more and more, just causing like a chain of events that will mess your day up. And they know your buttons, they know your triggers, they know your passion, they know your fears and all this stuff, and they like, based on all of their information about you, they will like run events on in your life that can like seem like a dream, a movie, or simulation, whatever, but they like literally have control over all that. That was like one of the movies where like I got more information, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it reminds me of like Google Analytics.
yeah.
They have all these different stats on each individual user. And then based upon those stats, they have another algorithm or another AI that could look at those stats and then do predictive programming. Okay, so if that's happened, then we're going to do this and that. But on humans. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, so it's a very similar, same case. He's being messed with entities, and like they're targeting him. Because in past, he did quite a lot of damage to the Mantis, and like they're making deals with reptilians and stuff where he was involved, and he was making sure that planets don't get colonized and different things. And he stepped in, he beat him up in his own ways, and now he's being a threat. So they stopped one of his bodies out in the multiverse, and the one on Earth is being targeted to make sure that he doesn't find enough information, that he feels sort of sickish, and like, you know, like constantly it's a daily challenge for him to live, to make sure that he's just suppressed daily so that he wouldn't interrupt, or he wouldn't like learn about certain things, he wouldn't like do discoveries, or like, you know, any kind of daily thing that would help his life. They're just sort of suppressing that. So yeah.
Okay.
So we'll work on like finally removing the whole cluster, like knowing information and stuff, and we'll see what's up with that.
Okay. And as you look at it, you've probably already said it in several different ways, but look for the intent, the cluster, or the lead, the leader of it all.
Yeah.
The basic intent towards Sean.
Okay. I'm like removing entities, and like there's this like parallel reality of Earth, and it's like the mirror image. It's like everything's the same thing, except it's happening with 1 second back. And basically this way these entities can communicate, and like I'm like removing all these entities and blobs and different things, and they have these sort of like in soul contracts we would call, like, you know, reinstatement clause. Is basically comes back after like removing this entity, like you remove it and it pops back, you know. So like I'm tracing it down, and like there's this reality like 1 second away where they know what's gonna happen, and they sort of redo it and like sort of recreate the experience and manifest it in the present.
Wow, it's like a mirror reality.
Yeah.
But just offset just a little bit so they can be ahead of the game, sort
yes.
of thing?
Yeah, they know what you're gonna act, they know what you're gonna do, and they're gonna change it up in their way so that in the present they affect the present. You know?
I see, yeah.
Yeah.
Sneaky.
Yeah, I sort of removed the entities, like, you know, out of the space, like sort of uncreated that reality, like where that mirror reality, and I was reprogramming that AI that sends off commands on what to do, into making sure that no entities can affect them, and if they're in the environment, the purpose is to serve, to help, and to redirect his attention to where instead of getting anxious, he would get productive and help himself and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Good. Yeah, what would be the next step? Is something else?
I might look for soul contracts, see if there's anything, and also get his soul aspects back, where he's like more courageous, and like what's the opposite of anxious, you know?
Calm, or stress-free, carefree.
Yeah. Look for those parts that, like, you know, would
peaceful.
help him and serve him and make his life more satisfying and safer for him. So
Okay.
I'll do that.
Yeah, we got some reads on soul contracts.
Okay. It seems like it's another thing I'm sort of discovering. You know, we talk about like implants, and they can be physical, astral, and like different implants, but I'm noticing soul contract implants. Like they're literally implanting the contract to your life, and they can, like, it can be done at any time. So you don't even need to have some sort of incident that will make you to have that, like, sort of very strong decision that changes your life. It can be done anytime, and usually while people are asleep, so that, like, it's not noticeable. um and they literally implant contracts to, like, they cause, like, fear or certain beliefs or certain, like, agreements in life. And, like, I should name it, but, like, there's a lot of beliefs too regarding, like, fear of death, like, or, like, certain, like being anxious or reacting to anything, like every single thing will trigger blah blah blah. And, like, there's just tons, like, like, list goes on and on. But,
Yeah.
like, it's more like, it's not even his. It was just, like, brought to him later, like, oh, you're a threat, we need to take care of you, like, like, and then they stamp it, like, sort of a new agreement.
Yeah.
So
Okay. You can remove that or spot
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
pull it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
one of the things, like, I'm reviewing agreements, and one of the things that stand out to me more is, like, he has this agreement of, I don't know, like, open doors to other entities. So it's like a break in the energy shield, like, where that allows entities to come into your environment.
Mm-hmm.
Except it's like a backdoor for the entities, and they've created that for themselves. Like, oh, he's a threat, we're gonna make sure that we can come in at any time. And basically, these entities can come in with other interactions with people. So, like, when he interacts with other people or are in their space, the entities from other people will jump to him and re-enter the space throughout the back door.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Now, can you seal that crack or that
yeah,
weakness in the energy field?
I can do that.
Mm-hmm. Is it like in the lower back area, back side of the stomach, or where is that?
You're picking it up.
Yeah.
Because, well, there's a few. It's like the energetic field where they enter. It's like closer, like,
Above and behind the head?
yes, above
Mhm.
and behind the neck, like closer to head and neck, somewhere in between, and that's, like, where they enter, and the landing spot, like, where they can reside, and, like, is around his stomach. So of
Mhm.
course he's gonna have like problems with his stomach, like, 'cause, like, they come in, and, like, it's like every time it's like a poking in that place.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Continue.
And another thing, like, in order for that thing to exist and be there, it's like they've made this thing, like, it's gonna be charged up on his energy. So for entities to come in, they're not using their energy, and basically every time they come into this space, energy from his stomach is being taken out, which is why he feels a disturbance, and, like, in his space and stuff, which is, like, constantly sucked out.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm done with the soul contract work. Like, I'm removed the contracts and that, like, entrance, and, like, sort of sealed it off and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna work on getting his soul fragments back, and I guess we can wrap it up.
Okay.
Wow, I was like, I'm getting his soul fragments back, and I noticed, like, a thing, like, I just had a thought, and I got a pretty good headache.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but if I was like, or, like, a thing I noticed, like, and then thought about it, is that it has a thing where subconsciously, or in some sort of way, he agrees to suck out the entities and other things from other people around him that he cares about and cares for, and that way he gets more damage to himself.
He takes on their pain, so to
Yes.
metaphorically speaking, by taking on their entities, pulling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that way, and the pain's going away, weirdly enough, and yeah, like, he cares about people, doesn't matter who they are, and he's basically, by his nature, he's gonna just suck it all out from them, and they will all, like, that's why his body's so messed up, because he has to be at the very verge of, like, when he's eating, like, either, like, very specific amount, and it's like an adjustment in his body to how much you can handle, because it goes for over them. But yeah, like, he's just, like, sucking up tons of fire people entities and stuff.
Yeah.
To save them, like.
Yeah. Out of kindness, love, or compassion.
Yeah.
Empathy or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll work on getting rid of that one, and, like, he can help people in his own ways, but, like, he's not gonna get affected by the entities, or, like, they cannot enter space anymore. So.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a redirect if he does that
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing consciously or unconsciously, uh, just imagining redirecting instead of pulling the entities out of somebody else and taking them on into your own space, you like create that energy vortex to the galactic core and allow that energy vortex to take those entities out of that person's space and then intending them to go into the galactic core for transmutation and like that.
Yeah, totally. I can create a program like
Mhm.
that would help him out.
Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of people that have that empathy. If I could take on your pain, I would because I love you, I care.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of great beings that are like that.
Yeah.
So.
And like it doesn't necessarily have to be this life where
Mhm.
he agrees to help other people, because he can live his life in any way, but it sort of comes from his past lives because that's who he was.
Mhm.
He would just like save planets and other beings, and
Mhm.
that is like part of who he is.
Yeah.
So, all right.
What
Yeah,
happened?
just sort of. I created the program where all of these entities, when he would suck it up, he would redirect it to the galactic vacuum for transmutation, and also throughout it, like there's another place where all the soul fragments, life essence, and energy that was collected by these entities would come back to the people that was sucked it from. So that like it's like sort of not just helping to free the entities and getting them out of their space and helping people, but also like redirecting what was taken from them.
Given back to those other people that the energy
Yeah,
that the entities took from those other people, got rid of the entities' galactic core, and the energy that those entities had taken from these other people in the world or the universe, redirected that energy back to those entities.
exactly. Yeah,
Good, good.
yeah. So yeah, I think like this is a good place for a break.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for doing that work. And is there any wrap up sort of summary or conclusion you want to share in the recording?
Yeah, we can do a summary. Like, there's a lot of like just looking at the way it's been working. She's been attracting and taking a lot of entities from other people's lives just by helping them, and that's who he was in the past, like a helper. And by that, he built up a place where all these entities would come to his space and build up like a whole entity, like looking being that would fit in his whole body, and they would suck out his energy and like sort of deplete him from that and affect his body and stuff. And so we removed a lot of agreements that would like allow him to come in, and there was this back door that would like allow him to like keep coming back, and parallel world where they would like always be one step ahead of everything and make sure that the game plays by rules. So we got rid of that as well.
And the
yeah.
connection with the stomach?
Yeah.
What was the connection again?
Um,
It had to do with what I remember is the breach in his energy field.
yeah.
They were coming in through his system and kind of landing in the stomach area, the chakra area in there, or whatever.
Yeah. Pretty much just like like so, the back door like it's the same thing, like so
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so got rid of that as well.